are joined by Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana. Senator, appreciate you coming to hang out on Clay and Buck today. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I love your music. I love your intro music. Just kind of drives it. That's pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you. Clay is friends with the band, so that always helps.
Lit,
so
My
they
Own
love
Worst
America.
Enemy, fabulous song that has become an iconic sports anthem all over the United States. So those guys have got a real lasting song. We're happy they let us use it.
So do y'all pay a royalty every time you use it? I mean, does that benefit them financially, or you just give them some free airtime?
Man, you ask good questions. My understanding is they get something for that, but we wanted to make sure that we had a band that loved what we say on this program, because some musicians, you probably have experienced it or you've seen it in politics, when people that they don't like politically use their music, they decide to try and keep you from using it going forward. And so I never wanted that to happen with this program. I knew the guys behind Lit. I love that song, and it, for many people who remember the 1990s, has become an anthem of the 1990s. So they make some money, but primarily it's just that we're in political alignment, and that song is phenomenal, and I thought it fit very well the audience, as we had to pick something new.
I like it.
Now, Doc.
By the way, I remember Michael Jordan once said Republicans buy tennis shoes as well. And so, whenever somebody says, don't use my music, I'm thinking, they must not think that Republicans listen to music. I'm glad.
Exactly right.
You know, I think that is changing a little bit now. At least people are more aware, Senator, that cutting out half of the country from their possible audience or their possible consumer base is unwise, and we pay attention and we remember. So, yeah, everybody out there, whatever you're listening, go to the iHeart app, go listen to some Lit, because they love all of you. They love all of us. All right, Dr. Cassidy, Senator Cassidy, let's talk about the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee. So you're the first physician to sit on that. How are we making America healthy again? How's that coming along? I know RFK Jr. is the one who's most talked about in that regard. But what are we doing for Americans' health? What are we doing to make people, healthier going forward?
Well, one thing we tried to do yesterday was pass a bill to keep Jewish students from getting harassed and beat up on campus. Some of my Democratic colleagues opposed it. Can you believe that? We're trying to pass a bill to keep some kid from being harassed when he's walking to biology class, and folks oppose that. It'd be nice to keep people healthy by keeping them from being chased into a room and people pounding on the door. So that may not be the normal definition of keeping America healthy again, but not getting beat up fits my definition, and that's what we worked on yesterday, and that's what we'll complete sometime next week.
Senator, you're down in Louisiana. One of the schools that went viral for anti-Israel protest was LSU. There were a lot of Southern schools where the kids just said, yeah, we're not going to stand up for this. And as a result, SEC applications, and for Clemson, Florida State, schools such as those as well that had the same sort of cultural response, have skyrocketed. What does that say about, let's give a little bit of positivity here, the kids going to school in Louisiana and their ability to see right from wrong, even if maybe some of the kids at Harvard and UCLA and Columbia and places like that can't?
I can tell you, some of these bastions of kind of Democratic strongholds may not appreciate the United States of America, but my folks do. And a lot of those kids, maybe their parents didn't go to college. They are getting the opportunity to take their lives to another level because their parents sacrificed to send them to school, and they're not about to feel guilty about something happening around the world that's being mischaracterized as somehow an attack by the Israelis on others, when October the 7th was an attack upon the Israelis. This is not Upside Down Day. And so I'm proud of my people. My people love America, and they are going to support Jewish students when they realize that supporting those students is supporting American values.
Senator Cassidy, last time we had you on was right after the New Year's Eve terror attack in New Orleans, and the FBI has been working on this case for months. And authorities have apparently arrested somebody with an ISIS link. Can you tell us, just as a follow-up to that, because last time we talked to you about it, we're talking about terrorism in Israel, we got terrorism concerns here at home. What do we know about the full scope of what happened and who was involved in that New Orleans terror attack?
The FBI is still pretty confident this guy was a lone actor. So we're learning details from the situation in Iraq. And let's just, again, we need to, as Americans, thank our friends around the world when they are friends to us. And I am grateful to our friends in Iraq who helped find this fellow and are sharing information to find if there is a connection. Reading about the fellow that did the New Year's Day terrorist attack, he seemed kind of a lone wolf type of a person, like he had broken up, divorced his wife, had very few friends, that sort of thing. But if there is a connection there, we'll find it out. We don't know yet, but I want to point out that New Orleans and Louisiana and our country did not let that terrorist act win. The Super Bowl shortly thereafter was a fantastic experience. And so we don't yet know the complete ramifications. We do know that our country, our state, my city responded in an incredibly positive way.
Donald Trump, president of the United States, just finished 100 days. He's going to be speaking in a place that may not be particularly fond place for your constituents. That is the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa tonight, I believe. For those who don't know, LSU, Alabama, big rivals, some of the biggest rivals in all of college sports. But notwithstanding him being in enemy territory from a football perspective, how would you assess the first 100 days of the Trump presidency? And what do you think going forward Congress can do, particularly the Senate, when it comes to passing this big, beautiful bill that would help to enshrine the tax cuts and ensure the American economy is on stronger footing? How would you break down where we're headed there?
Well, first, starting off on the 100 days, I start off on the first 30 days. President Trump inherited a southern border in which millions of people, literally millions of people, were crossing illegally. And along with that came drug trafficking with fentanyl. By the way, 74,000 roughly Americans die annually from drug overdose, from fentanyl overdose. And within 30 days, that was shut down. He says, okay, Mexicans, if you don't control this, we're going to put a 25% tariff on you. Suddenly, the president of Mexico sicks the Mexican army on the cartels, starts breaking up the migrant caravans. Now, we are just the lowest level of illegal immigration across that border in decades, and the cartels are on the run with their fentanyl labs. So I like to talk about the first 30 days, in which that promise to control the illegal immigration across our southern border was controlled. And, by the way, the flow of fentanyl across that border greatly reduced, hopefully down to zero. That's number one. Number two, he is pushing now for increased economic development. Last night, I was at the White House with a group of about 3 or 4 other senators with a lot of business leaders talking about the investments they are making in our country. $5.8 billion by Hyundai to build something in what we call the river parishes of Louisiana, like a $17 billion investment in Plaquemines Parish in Louisiana by Venture Global for LNG export. He didn't even mention Woodside, and Woodside's putting $17 billion in Louisiana for another LNG export facility. But he did speak about other states, other projects with huge investment. That's more jobs, better paying jobs for working Americans. That's in the first 100 days. I am hoping we keep this pace up for the next 3.5 something years.
Senator, the tariffs are getting a lot of attention for obvious reasons all across the country. You might have seen Kamala Harris last night, if you stayed awake for it. You might have seen Kamala Harris talking about the greatest man-made economic disaster, I think she said, in modern history.
Was she
and Clay and I woke up today and looked at the stock market. Yeah, I mean, no, we really did think of like this is the worst. She thinks this is the worst man-made economic disaster in, let's call it, the last in the post-World War II era. Wow, okay. But put aside Kamala Harris, economist, for a second here. The tariffs. What should people know about where you think this is going, and is it right fundamentally for Trump to take this approach specifically to China, but also more broadly to other countries that have tariffs against us, and why? I mean, I just want to hear your thinking on the on the Trump tariffs.
Well, first, he used tariffs initially with Mexico, as we spoke, as a tool of foreign policy to get the Mexicans to address the cartels and the caravans coming from Central America. That worked. That was a pretty effective use of tariffs as foreign policy. Secondly, he's trying to ensure equal market access. And we've seen countries, I think Cambodia was the first, but Vietnam, with whom we trade a heck of a lot, Israel, immediately coming forward saying, we will drop our tariffs, let's enter into negotiations. Now, the biggest problem is obviously China. And frankly, we don't know how that's going to play. There is a lot of stuff that comes from China that we don't make in the United States. Now, the Chinese, terribly unfair trading partners who will, if there is an American competitor, slash the price of their goods below their cost of production, put our folks out of business, and then jack their price back up. So these tariffs are trying to correct a lot, but China's a huge economy. We are dependent upon them. They are dependent upon us. And so the president's going to really have to do the art of the deal to make that work well.
Some news coming out today about Mike Waltz, the national security advisor. What should happen there? What do you expect to happen? I know this is an area you have some knowledge and expertise of.
Well, first, let's thank Mike Waltz. I think the guy got 3 Bronze Stars. He served in the Bush W administration. He's been a congressman. This guy has served our country. I don't know his reason for his departure, but he serves at the pleasure of the president. And if the president decided it would be better to move in a different direction, well, that's why elections have consequences. That's why he's the commander in chief. But I also want to just acknowledge Mike. Anybody that has 3 Bronze Stars in the special forces is pretty high up there in my book.
No doubt, Senator. We appreciate the time. Happy to have you on anytime, and look forward to you guys getting this big bill passed through sometime by Memorial Day and getting the economy really rolling. Thanks, sir.
Hey, thank you, man.
That is Senator Bill Cassidy from the great state of Louisiana. You heard us talking about the impact of anti-Semitic protests on so many different college campuses out there and his attempts as senator to help combat that going on. Today, Israel is recognizing their 77th Independence Day. Should be a time of celebration, but between the largest out-of-control wildfire in Israel's 77-year history and the ongoing threat of missile attacks, it's a somber Independence Day in the Holy Land. The Israeli government appreciates on all of the work that is being done by the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, their ongoing help to make sure the elderly, the sick, the wounded, and the impoverished families don't fall through the cracks. I saw the incredible work that the IFCJ does in Israel during my trip to the Holy Land in December. Your gift to the fellowship today can provide life-saving aid, medicine, healthy meals, safety, and comfort to those in need. And when we bless the people of Israel, we unlock God's blessing in our lives as well. Show your support for Israel by making a life-saving gift today by calling 888-488-IFCJ. That's 888-488-4325. You can also go online to supportifcj.org. One word, supportifcj.org.